Hello, friends. Welcome to the stream, folks. How is everybody doing out there? How is your, It's Friday the 13th, isn't it? It's Friday and it's Advent of Code Day 13, which means it must be Friday the 13th, which would be very scary for anybody who believed in scary things. Yeah, I'm good with Friday the 13th. It's got to come around every once in a while. Hey, Smab. So no dear, I hated today's, that's Advent of Code. I haven't looked at today's puzzle yet, but I just got a comment here kicking off the chat. Let me switch the view so we can all see the chat. There we go. I hated today's. It was basically know this maths thing, and I didn't know, and the math nerds on Reddit, yeah, just use Schwarzschild's defense to capture their rook. And yeah, you know what? I will brute force it, and you know what I did? I bruted the force out of it. Brute the force, Luke! Hey, Christian! How you doing? Welcome. Yeah, there are occasional things with Advent of Code. Hey, Standa. Welcome. Where it's like, do you know the maths thing? And yeah, it is like, you just use... And it's the thing about, like, any advanced field of human endeavor, anything that people spend, like, a ridiculous number of hours just thinking of stuff and coming up with different ways of doing things, they just end up with all of this terminology. Like, when I was learning to, play guitar and sort of studying, I don't know, I never really, Oh, awesome! Stan, I was singing You Give Rest a Bad Name at Work when the original was playing and everyone loved your lyrics. So you know that there are some people out there in the world now who, they've heard my versions of all of these songs, but, like, they didn't know the originals. Like, my girlfriend didn't know Piano Man by Billy Joel. She'd heard it, like, maybe once. And now she knows Bug in the JavaScript, but she doesn't know any of the original words. And there was a karaoke thing at a festival, developer festival in Copenhagen this year, and Linebreakers, that's my conference band, we had already played the show, and we'd already done all the parodies and everything. But we didn't do Bug in the JavaScript because Vagif, who's our piano player, he wasn't there, and we tend to, like, we got too many songs. We've always got to cut some. And so we didn't do Bug in the JavaScript because no piano, so we didn't do that. And then somebody did Piano Man for the karaoke, and the whole audience sang the Bug in the JavaScript version. And it was just like, oh, look at that! I mean, Billy Joel is excellent, and it's one of my regrets that I never saw him live. And he is playing some dates in the UK next year. He's playing it in Scotland. But when a single ticket to a concert costs more than an electric guitar, something is broken. If you had £220, you could walk into a store and you could come out with a Yamaha Pacifica and probably a little effects unit to go with it, and you could actually, like, you can make your own music for less money than it costs to... hey, Lucky Kill 76, welcome. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed the podcast. So this year I've just been doing more stuff. Like, I decided it was kind of a quiet year because, the economy's completely screwed. And so I started doing weekly YouTube videos, and I started doing podcasts, and I decided I was going to do the Advent of Code thing, and it's been kind of fun. It's definitely kind of taught me a lot about publishing and creating content, which I hate that expression, but we don't have a better thing to describe what it is. And so anyway, welcome. So yeah, today we are going to look at Advent of Code. Now, before we have a look at the next one, yesterday I did something that I generally try not to do. So what happened yesterday is we were looking at... let me jump into day 12 here. So we did part 1. I was on the podcast stream with Randall at 4 yesterday. And we did the whole thing and kind of got part 1 working, and it was kind of fun. And then we looked at some other code and some Zig and stuff. And then we took a little bit of a break. I came back, I started looking at part 2, and there's a thing that happens sometimes when you're doing these kind of stream things where you're kind of staring at it and you think you're on the right track, but it doesn't quite click. Like, you just can't get the... Like trying to formulate the mental model in your brain is like trying to pick up a bar of soap. You know it's there, but every time you grasp for it, it just kind of... And you can't get it. Also, my girlfriend was off. She went to Hamburg yesterday, got a bunch of concerts, and she was like, there was problems with the trains in Germany. I know, right? Problems with the German trains. And it was just one of those days when you're like, I'm not going to get... So I ended the stream before I solved the problem, which I normally try not to do because I like to kind of stay and figure it out step by step. And then I came back to it late last night, and I started looking at it, and I was like, well, I don't really, still couldn't quite grok the problem. So I thought, well, what if instead of doing that, I try to build some slightly better visualization around the shape of the problem we got there. And so we had this little scratch.txt thing we were playing with. And what I started doing is I thought, all right, well, can I map the grid and draw that out a little better? And so what I come up with is, let me see if this is actually working, is I dug out the ASCII box drawing characters, like all the little corners and stuff, and created a little piece of code that would draw the grid. And what I discovered was that the nice thing about doing it this way, this approach, is you start out with something very, very visual. And so all you're doing is you're going, right, let's look for certain patterns, and when we find them, we'll draw them on the screen. And that way, if the thing on the screen isn't right, you can spot immediately what the problem is. You're like, I missed that corner, I missed that corner. Oh, some of these corners are kind of backwards, because like you're looking at like, let me find an example here. So this cell here, so we got cell A, has a bottom right corner, because it's got that piece, so that's a corner, so that counts towards the thing. And this one also has a bottom right corner, but then this one here, this has a bottom right corner that's inverted. It's facing the other way. And so visualizing it, just putting the code on the screen and spinning out the little borders and things, well, it was quite good fun. Like, and I ended up with, now this is not... if I was doing this again, like for real, like in a production thing, I'd throw the thing away and, or rather I'd stick it at one side and I'd build it again. This would be the spike. But I did come up with this little snippet of code here that I really like this because of how dumb it looks. Is basically, I'm like, all right, so I've got, each region, we have a what's the top left of it. And it turns out that if the top left is either of those two box drawing characters, and so I stuck them together, and then I thought that little sequence of lines of code there with the little zigzag thing, I thought that was lovely. And, you know, it's the dumb code. It's not the to quote Nadir, the math nerds on Reddit would probably not be impressed. I basically ended up kind of not brute forcing it, but like dumbing it. I literally went through and I was like, all right, let's say take a piece of the grid, and let's find out what is at the top left corner of that piece of the grid. And that was it. And it probably, it's not optimized, it's not efficient. Hello, Karim. A third of people who got the 1 star haven't got the second yet. And so, yeah, and it was, I got the answer. You know, we got there in the end. I wish I'd been able to do the whole thing on the stream, but that's mainly because of, like, insecurity. Like, there's this, I think when we fire up Twitch or YouTube, for the folks who can't get Twitch at work, and you're like, we're going to solve Advent code live on the stream, you kind of have to solve Advent code live on the stream, and if you don't solve it, it's like, hello everyone, welcome to 2 hours of me being a loser, and then switching it off before we win anything. What language? This is C#, Karim. This is C#, which is my favorite programming language of all time by quite a long way. It is a wonderful general-purpose, object-oriented language created by Microsoft in 2002, because in 2000 or so, Microsoft looked at Java and went, yeah, we can do better than that. And what they did is they did better, because I think there weren't very many things fundamentally wrong. Suka 1, did I see Nanowar Steel? Yes, I did. The fun thing about kind of being known as a person who does programming and rock music is that every single person who saw Nanowar Steel immediately went, oh, I gotta show this to Dylan. And I think I got 27 different messages. Like, I got emails, I got Telegram messages, I got WhatsApp, I got people mentioning it on Twitter and Blue Sky and Facebook and everything. Just all these people going, you gotta see this! And I was looking at it, I was like, ah. And I thought of that. This is the dumb thing, is about 6 years ago, I remember sitting down and looking at Hello World in C# at the time and being like, all right, so we've got using system, public static void main, and I was like, could you turn that into, could you write music that was valid? And I was like, you know, you get into things like, do you have to pronounce the punctuation? Like using system dot runtime dot interrupt services semicolon. Do you sing every single detail of the code as you go? And I kind of parked the idea, and then Nanowar Steel came out and did it, and there's definitely my conference band Linebreakers. You know the Linebreakers? We got a website and everything. Let me bring up linebreakers.band just to show you how much the joke has got out of hand. So this is Linebreakers, and yeah, we got real music videos now, and we play conference parties, and we do all that kind of stuff. And I always thought that there is like this wall. There is comedy music, and then there's serious music, and there's no crossover between the two. And then I saw that these guys are Dynasty, and they are a power metal band out of Sweden who are phenomenal. And their track "Heartless Madness" was my Spotify Wrapped top track of last year, this year, 2024. And Dynasty are on tour, and they're touring around Europe next year. And do you know who the support band is going to be on their tour next year? Let me find a date on there. It is going to be Nano War of Steel are supporting Dynasty on their European tour next year. So we've got Italian comedy metal and then Swedish completely straight down the line power metal. And I'm like, there's a crossover here. So now Linebreakers has got to get like the Iron Maiden opening support act or Judas Priest or something, because that I think would just be fun. So Victor Borgia would say you have to say the punctuation. Anyway, that's enough preamble. Let's do Advent of Code. So I don't know why I said that like that. Let's do Advent of Code. Day 13. Advent of Code in the style of Richard Burton. Day 13, Claw Contraption. Next up, the lobby of a resort on a tropical island. The historians take a moment to admire the hexagonal floor tiles before spreading out. Fortunately, it looks like the resort has a new arcade. Maybe you can win some prizes from the claw machines. The claw machines here are a little unusual. Instead of a joystick or directional buttons to control the claw, these machines have two buttons labeled A and B. Worse, you can't just put in a token and play. It costs 3 tokens to push the A button and 1 token to push the B button. Alright. With a little experimentation, you figure out that each machine's buttons are configured to move the claw a specific... It's a claw machine puzzle. So day 12, part 2. The interesting thing about that is I think some people built part 1 in a way that meant part 2 was just trivial for them. And I like it when there's a lot of different ways to solve part 1. And some of them, part 2 is almost like a no-op. And others, like, you have to throw the code away and pretty much start again. And the way that Rendell and I did it on the stream, the podcast stream yesterday, we ended up with something that I think made sense, but that it didn't lend itself to converting it up to the next level there. So, alright, claw machines. 2 buttons labeled A and B, 3 tokens to push A, 1 token to push B. With a little experimentation, you figure out that each machine's buttons are configured to move the claw a specific amount to the right and forward. Alright. So it is a... Alright. So, yeah. The claw! Okay, that's weird. Yeah, there we go. The claw! Alright. What is the smallest number of tokens you would have to spend to win as many prizes as possible? Alright. So... Okay, so each button is going to move the claw by a certain amount of... Why is it so hard, Surly? Why is it so hard to give away a bed to charity? So the best way to get rid of anything you don't want in the part of London where I live is to put it out on the street with a note on it saying, "Do not steal this. I need it back," because if you do that, it'll be gone in 20 minutes. Okay. Yeah, I kind of like so Rat Style. I like streams with smaller crowds, much more personal. Um, and yeah, I occasionally tune in. So the only stream I really watch regularly is White Panther, which is his Sama stream, because that's the same. Like you recognize people, and there's normally like somewhere between 20 and 100 people in the chat, and yeah, well, it should be a joke. Why is it so hard to give away a bed to a charity? Punchline, come on, chat, don't let me down. Someone's got to be able to come up with a punchline to that. Right, we're doing Advent of Code, aren't we? The cheapest way to win the prize is by pushing the A button 80 times and the B button 40 times, because this would line up the claw along the X and the Y axis. For the second and third claw machines, there is no combination of A and B that will ever win a prize. For the third claw machine... Alright. 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 Yeah. How come I don't have a follow button? What? Why? Where do I not have a follow button? I don't even know what a follow button is. Alright, so let's grab some sample input. There's our sample input. Right, first thing we're going to do is we are going to, actually first thing we're going to do, all the channels are missing the follow button. Weird, maybe you're not allowed to follow anybody. Maybe you've reached your followers limit. I don't know. .NET new console -O day 13. Alright, CD day 13 and code dot. There we go. Yeah, websites should never be allowed to be redesigned. Web design absolutely peaked in 2003, and everything since then has been a horrible mistake. That's what I believe. I want to actually, we're going to talk about websites for a second, because there's a thing I saw yesterday that I can't decide if I love it or I hate it. This is Elgato. They make all the like streaming gear and all kinds of stuff. And I was looking at products, and I was looking at Capture, and I was looking at the CamLink Pro. And basically this, like, as you scroll the page, it gets to here, and then as you scroll, you see that, like the thing kind of like stropes in and out, and so as you scroll, and this is me scrolling it, like you watch the little scroll handle here, whee, and I don't know if that's beautiful or horrible, because I'm like, yeah, but look how beautifully it's done. It's like, there it is, and boom, and the picture alignment is just perfect, and yeah. And it's like, keep scrolling until your brain has been pumped full of information. Italian comedy metal are the least probable words I would expect to see together. I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's any nation less likely to produce comedy metal. Yeah. I'll leave you to draw your own conclusions about that one. Right, let's go over here, right-click that new file. We're going to call this one scratch.txt, and we're going to drop that in there, and we're going to copy and paste Scratch, and we're going to call it example. And we're going to play with Scratch, because Scratch is where we do the good things. All right, so what do we got is, we've got a, yeah, so it's a maths thing. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not a Reddit maths nerd, but I am a maths nerd. What I don't like about websites is they assume your browser is maximized. What I don't like about websites is that they assume that... so one of my sort of bugbears with this Advent of Code actually is a wonderful website, because it's really kind of deconstructed and minimalist. It doesn't work on phones. It's got a fixed format, fixed width layout that is too wide, and if you go to Advent of Code and you bring up the example, and if we just spin that up in a browser simulator here, and yay, let's see what Advent of Code looks like. And okay, that's iPhone SE, but that is not what this website does on an actual iPhone SE. Because I have an iPhone SE, and if you look at it on one of those, there, it looks more like that. And you got a side scroll because it doesn't wrap the text. And I get what they've done. And anyway, we're getting off topic. We're going down rabbit holes. Right. So, what do we got to do? What we got to do here is we've got to let's do the scribbling. So we've got our button A on this is 9434. Button B is 2267. And the price is 8400, 5400. I've done talks about REST, and they were before, because I used to talk about REST a lot. I did REST workshops and all kinds of things. And so, whoa, steady off on the spoilers. Wait till I get stuck. Is that me? Is that, let's see, is that me? Yeah, that's me. That was a long time ago. Yeah, I used to do talks about REST and stuff, and then I realized that REST was not, in fact, the solution to all of the problems of the world, and maybe we shouldn't get too hung up on API design patterns. And yeah, I mean, I wasn't obsessed with having the whole REST thing correct, but I was very much of the opinion that if you want to refer to what you're doing as a REST API, your API should incorporate hypermedia controls. And that was partly just because clearly it worked very well on the World Wide Web. And the interesting thing is when Roy Fielding first kind of published REST, it was a doctorate thesis, which if you've ever known anyone who's got a PhD, they don't have time to do everything they want. At some point they got to stick it together and publish it and get on with their life. And and, I was like, well, Fielding invented REST, and Fielding says hypermedia controls are a prerequisite to REST, and so if you don't have any if you don't have hypermedia controls, then it's not REST, it's just an HTTP API. But I did a YouTube video a couple of months ago now, which was like, just chill, you want to talk it. I think we've lost. I think if you're doing HTTP with JSON and you're using get, put, post, delete, and you want to call it REST, yeah, all right. I think that's what we've got now. And I think OpenAPI is largely responsible for that, and Swagger and all that kind of stuff. So what does REST even mean? It means representational state transfer. It has to be hypermedia as the engine of application state. And I recommend many, many YouTube videos from me and others if you want to know what that means. So what we got to do with this. Now, I just want to refresh my memory about the constraint here for Adventer code. That looks like day 12. No, we're definitely looking at day 13, right? Oh, yeah, sorry. Using the paper from yesterday. There we go. Yeah. So let's just refresh the constraint. What is it we want? Is it the number of buttons or the number of tokens? The minimum tokens you would have to spend to win all the available prizes is... yeah, sorry, 9th Prime. I've still got my notes from yesterday on the paper here. So, all right. So what we're interested in here is what is the combination of A's and B's that yields those results. And B costs 3 times as many tokens. So this is a is this a linear algebra problem? This is the maths nerd thing. This is, yeah, something maths nerdy. All right, let's parse the input. I'm going to build a class. I normally don't build classes for this. So public class. Now, what did they call the machine? Machine. So a machine is gonna have a button A, button B, and then we've got two coordinates here, X and Y. They called them X and Y. Int X, int Y. Claw machine. You think it's got to be called claw machine? I think it's got to be called claw machine. Yeah, so we got a public class button, and a button has an int X and an int Y. All right, and yeah, Hateos or Hateos has hate in it for a reason. It's not that bad if you're working with an API that's got sensible resource expansion and the entities exposed by it are nicely cacheable, because you do get a lot of performance benefits from being able to not have to go and retrieve all the same stuff every time. And button A, button B, so let's capture those. Yep. Create and assign that, create and assign that. We probably don't actually need it, but let's grab those, and that can be a Y, and that can be a X, and there's create and assign X, and create and assign Y, and this is primary constructors in C# if you haven't figured it out, or you've not seen them before. So let's grab int X, int Y, and we're going to does a claw machine inherit from a button? They both have an X and a Y. Maybe not. So all right, let's look at records. So records is one of those things in .NET that record in C# that kind of came along, and I'm like, I don't get what that gives me that I can't already do. Use the record to define a reference type that provides built-in function. So C#, why are records? What even are those things? Hello, Stony. Welcome to the stream. So a record is basically, it's like a class that doesn't have a... Does it have behavior? Why would I use a record? If I use classes for this, tell me where it hurts. What's the problem? Automatic equalities, hash code, and immutability. I mean, we got in C#, if you want automatic reference equality stuff, you can get that with... it helps to look in SharpLab. No, I don't want to know what it does. I want to know why I care. You got to make me care before I get interested in how it does it. And yeah. Right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to keep writing the code, and when I write something that you're like, if you'd used records, you wouldn't have had to write that thing there, you can jump in and you can tell me, and at that point we'll dig into playing with records. Or I just change everything in a record and we wait for the whole thing to stop working. So public record button, public record claw machine. Value equality by default, immutability by default. All right, so this is the... Are we going to get to the point in Advent of Code Day 13 where having mutable data structures is likely to yield confusion or bugs? All right. Okay, let's try. So toString to support for debugging is interesting. So public, so var b equals new button 5.4, console.writeLine b, var c equals new button 5.4, console.writeLine c, console.writeLine b equals c. Right, let's see what that does, just because I'm curious. No, let's just open VS Code again. That's a fun way of passing the day. Ah. You can remove all the code you've written so far. Except now, do I want these to be capital? Are they public? What's the convention? Big X or little x? So, capital, yes. So that's int x, that's int y. So that's button A, B, X, Y. All right, so these just give me, and I can then put stuff on these. So it's basically an immutable data structure that can have behavior. And if I try and do this, c.y equals 12, that's going to say, you're not allowed to do that because, okay, all right, okay. So yeah, let's, so for folks watching on the stream, let's just demonstrate the difference here. So if we've got, that's a button record, all right? And if we then do the same thing over here, I'm going to switch off Copilot because it is disabled. Piss off, Copilot. I don't want your sass. I just want to type my program and have it work. All right, so we got public class int x, int y, and we can capture those in auto properties. So we'll create and assign that, and we'll create and assign that. And yeah, so mutability is really just the ability of whether you can poke a data structure from outside and change what's in it. And we're off-piste here. We're playing around because like I've not really worked with records very much, but this is interesting to me. So if B equals a new button record, so let's say BR equals new button record on that, and var CR equals new button record on that, and var BC equals new button class 54, and var CC equals new button class. Ooh, come back. 54, all right. And so BR, CR, BR equals CR. And now we copy that lot. And now BC, CC, BC equals CC. Okay, so what I'm expecting to see here is that one of these is going to give us something that's actually useful and the other one's going to give us junk. And we can copy and out claw machine. Boom, done. Okay, so yeah, so what we've got is button record here has that, and let me just, one thing I'm curious to try here is, can we put a method on here, public void mutate int x int y, this dot x equals x. No, we can't. Init only property or indexer. Okay, cool. So that is completely immutable. We cannot build a method that will mess with it. Whereas on the button class, we also can't mutate it. So, okay, immutability is probably a much more nuanced benefit than .NET. C# does not steal good ideas from F#. F# is C#'s incubator. Both F# and C# are heavily supported and subsidized by Microsoft. They basically support the, the development of both of those ecosystems. And I know Don Syme, who was the creator of F#, pretty well. We did a whole bunch of events together. He used to play bass in my band. And you talk to Don about it, he's like, yeah, F# is where we try out all the stuff to see what works. And then the stuff which gets a lot of mainstream kind of enthusiasm, yeah, it makes it into C#, and that's fine. They are not intended to solve the same kind of problems, and I suspect that if you took all of the people in the world who use C# to build line of business applications and you move them onto F#, what would happen is that the F# community would collapse under the weight of all the support requests. How do I integrate it with SharePoint? How do I make it do this? How do I do Windows Forms? And those things are possible because it's a CLR. It runs on top of the .NET runtime. So return a new instance created with. Yeah. So yeah, it's cool. So yeah, immutability, it's actually not that difficult in .NET to create an immutable class. It's almost the default now with something like a getter and a private. And if we take the private setters off, but the reference or the value-based equality, that's useful. By the way, structs do that in .NET already. If we do that, and now we do a BC equals CC, we can't apply equals equals, but we can say bc.equals CC, and that, I believe, will give us the, yeah. So structs have always had value field-based equality, but they don't overload the equals equals operator by default, so you have to do bc.equals, which means if you're using them as keys into something like a dictionary or a hash table, you get equality based on contents, not equality based on identity. So, cool, right, 47 minutes in, and we haven't done any Advent of code yet. Let's fix that. But that was fun. We're going to do this with records, is what we've learned here. So we've got, let's, public record, claw machine, button A, button B. So public record, button int X, int Y. Don't do nothing. Okay, and what? I don't want that Copilot thing switched on. How do I make it die? Right. Copilot. Disabled. Yeah. Extensions. 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 Copilot. You're a pair programmer. Uninstall. Bye-bye. GitHub Copilot chat. You can also bye-bye. Right. So, here is our input. Our input consists of blocks of 3 lines. So var machines equals file dot read all lines scratch.txt dot split on. It's something I wish I could do easily because environment.newline plus so Nydia, I don't use any AI stuff. Not that I think it wouldn't work most of the time, it's just that I'm not good enough to know when it's messing up. So I will happily use AI for, like, if I got a bunch of files and I think, I could rename them all in a certain way, and I know there's a PowerShell script to do that, and I can't remember the PowerShell syntax to do it, and I can't be bothered to look it up. And if it goes wrong, then a bunch of my own files end up with the wrong names and no one else cares. Then I'll quite happily use AI for those kinds of things. And occasionally, if Googling isn't yielding anything interesting, I will go on ChatGPT and just be like, is there a way of doing this? And the problem is that what it does is it gives you something you then have to go and Google. And sometimes the thing it gives you, you punch that into Google or Kaggy or Bing or whatever, and you're like, okay, I do that with it. And other times it gives you complete horse arse. And you go and put that in. Like a couple of months ago, I was like, how do I host static files on a Jekyll website? And ChatGPT says, oh yeah, you need to use this Ruby gem. And no such gem doesn't exist. Yeah, it's basically just, it's the worst person you've ever dealt with in your entire life as a service. It is the pathological bullshit artist with the trust fund and the greasy hair who's always like, oh, I'm so sorry you feel that way. And I'm like, just get out of my face. This is not the future we want to live in. Give me something with no attitude that does my taxes while I can sit and write music. Machines equals file.readAllLine scratch.text split on environment newline plus environment newline dot select. Yeah, syntax versions is another thing. chunk goes to new claw machine. Right, let's do that. Claw machine.parse. Let's create method internal static object parse. Object chunk should be a string. Input. And so what do we want to do? Well, we've got that, and we want to are we going to do this with one big fat regex? What are we thinking, fam? Because we could. Why does C# use Pascal case? You got to use something till they give us variable names with spaces in them. So if we that's nice. Var numbers equals input.split, and we split it on a, actually, do we do regex.split? Is that a thing? Yep. Regex.split input, and we split it on anything which is not a number, one or more of those. That should just give us 6 numbers, and yeah. So then we've got return new, okay, regex.split that.select int32.parse will give us an IEnumerable of numbers, .toArray, and in Rockstar you can have variables with spaces in them because Rockstar is just that kind of a language. And why is that complaining about that? It's just too long. Yeah, that's alright, we can live with that. You don't even need to split on new line and comma. If you just split on regex options.multiline, I believe will give me the whole thing. Let's just now do a, what's the easiest way to dump numbers? That probably. And return new. Write the dumb code. String does what? Does not contain a definition for split. I need read all text, not read all lines, because I want to get the whole thing because we got multi-line chunks on the input. No. Yeah. 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 What? That should be that. Yep, 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 yep. What's in scratch.txt? Yes, we got input. Split environment.newline. That should be printing something. It shouldn't be printing nothing. All right. Okay, not that. Okay, so that's pulled that in. So that's got that. Yep. Yep, so that's found 4 things, which is correct. There are 4 buttons in that. So claw machine.parse should be getting each chunk of input. No, it's not. That's weird. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. Is regex.split doing a bad thing? No, it shouldn't. Let's just do a quick sharp lab. So if we've got a string like var s equals abc123 def456 ghi789 jkl 012 mno, yep, alright. So regex.split input is s, and the pattern we are matching is anything which is more than one thing that is not a digit. And that we need using system text regular expressions. Yeah. For each var bit in bits. Okay. So regex.split does the right thing. Unless the problem is to do with it being multi-line. Regex.split doesn't use grouping and capturing. It literally just looks for the pattern and cracks the string every time it finds it. So let's just do a quick ding. So we got a multi-line string literal in here. And that still works. Yeah. All right. When the big thing doesn't do what you want, you break it down and you look at the small thing. For each var number in numbers. Oh, I'm already doing that. Oh no, I'm doing that without the parse. Right line input already fails. I should be calling the code I'm testing, shouldn't I? It works better when you do that. Okay, what the heck? All right, I know what's going on, and it's a wonderful little new thing that we've actually exploited in a couple of the earlier solutions, but for whatever reason, my brain just went, nah, not gonna work on that one today. Okay, so what we've got, yeah, exactly right. We got to add a to-list. That code, what we've done is we've constructed a projection across the input that is never actually going to read anything. Nothing enumerates it, so it never, we never crank the handle, we never get the bits out of the, yeah. Cool, all right, good. We got as far as something useful. So I need to, let's take input And we probably need to crunch input onto a single line here. Or we need to... okay, so regex options.multiline does not implicitly include the... Or is it just that we got a dangling new line on the end of it? No, it's not. So int32.parse is being fed something. Yeah, it's a generator versus a list. We got a generator, but we never generate, and so nothing happens. So we need to call like toList or toArray or actually hit the thing to get it to do something. Is there a regex.split that takes a string split options? No, there is only regex options. You only need multi-line for dot to match a new line. It doesn't matter here. Well, it kind of does, because I want anything that is not a 0 to 9 to match a new line. Hold on 1 second. I've just run over my microphone cord with my chair. I'll be back in a moment. Come to the future, they said. The future's wireless, they said. There we go. Right. Okay. So, yeah, 0 to 9 should match new lines no matter what, right? It should. It absolutely should. Right. It still doesn't like it. Let's see what we got. Yeah. I think that there is a empty string. Yeah, okay, so we got empty things at the beginning and end of each chunk. So I need a... maybe I... regex.split on that. Dot where... what do we got? Token goes to... I mean, I could do it in 32.tryparse, and that'll give me an output result. But so the other thing, yeah, as Nineberry suggested, we could use a regex match instead. So regex.matches, and we give it the... let me remember how this one goes. Specified input string for all occurrences of that. So let's search for 0 to 9 plus. Dim. One of the things I really wish C# had that JavaScript and Perl had is just regex literals by quoting them in slash brackets. So we probably need the regex options.single line in there. And then we got to select match goes to, what do we got in here? Match dot... is it match.result? See what we get out of that. Cannot convert from regex options to int. Oh yeah, string input, string pattern, regex.matches, input, pattern, and then the regex options. Yeah. Returns a match collection. Is that not an enumerable? Okay. Yes. 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 Yes, Android, welcome. It's a little earlier than usual, but yes, we are only just parsing input. We've had lots of interesting meanders into using records in C# and all kinds of stuff. So what do we got? We got that is on there. That gives us back. So this regex.matches returns a match collection, which should be enumerable because it should be. Cannot convert from method group to read-only span. Regex.match, what the f does that return? Regex.match in C#. Right. The regex.match method returns the regex.matches method. I'm calling matches, aren't I? Yeah. Which is a terrible name. I have no interest in how somebody solved part 2 in 56 seconds. Either they're cheating or they're superhuman. In either case, that's nothing for any rational person to aspire to. Yeah, matches should be a boolean. It should be true or false. It should be yeah, it's just a horrible, like, you can tell someone, hey, match this, but you can't say, hey, matches this. What does it return? Returns a match collection. Because a match collection. So match collection matches equals that dot matches. We've got for each match in matches. Match.value. Match.value? Alright. But not match.result, because that's a different thing that you can't have. Right. That looks to me like we got a block of exactly 6 numbers coming back off each one, which means that we can now do that dot to array, and there's that, and then if numbers, so we can just assert dot. What do I want? Why do I not have assert? I should have assert. All right. If numbers dot length is not equal to 6, throw new exception. Wrong numbers, which we should never see. Debug.assert, thank you. Yeah, I've been playing in XUnit for too long. All right, so then we are going to return a new button, numbers 0, numbers 1, new button numbers 2, numbers 3, numbers 4, numbers 5. My car can run a marathon in 20 minutes. Yeah, right. Cool. All right. I'm just going to make that a little bit neater. Internal static, so let's just have a private static int parse digits. This string input is going to do that. There's a little like hovering. Use generator to read. Okay, so that's a code inspection coming from somewhere, but it's not giving me the option to fix it. It's just saying you suck, and I'm like, I don't care. Var numbers equals input dot parse digits should work except regular extension methods need to be static. Yeah. String does not contain a definition for parse digits. Yes, it does. It's over there. Yes. Yeah. That can't be there because that needs to be a public static class string extensions. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the people solving Advent code in 6 seconds. I think they're using tachyon pulses. Like, one day human beings are going to invent time travel, or like, time communication thing. And the idea that at the point where human beings have invented time travel, there won't be dumb teenagers in their mum's basements trying to mess stuff up. Yeah, that's a little optimistic. Cool, alright. So we've got parse digits. Let's git add dot. And git commit -m day 13 parsing input. Done in only 1 hour and 14 minutes. Go chat. Right, so we got the machines. Yay! So that was the completely no decisions, nothing creative, nothing challenging. Now we just need to solve the thing, right? So we want to... and what does the solve give us? It gives us the cost. Public int solve. All right, so we are looking here for a combination of button A and B presses that gets us to X, and then if that happens, we want... Okay, so what I think we want to do here, and this is maybe brute forcing rather than linear algebra, but let's play with it, is I'm going to start with A equals... All right, so the best case scenario here is that the coordinates for A are an exact... How do I convince past you that you are future you? Oh, there are ways. You don't want to know, but there are ways. Are there ways? I got like passwords and stuff that I have never ever written down anywhere or told anybody that are only in my head. Somebody who could rattle off a bunch of those would either be me or they'd be from an age when they managed to slice up my brain. Either way, I'm kind of going to give them what they want, because, hey, they have future secret agent brain slicing technology. Who am I to disagree? All right. So, first of all, if ax y is an exact multiple of... most of my most embarrassing experiences, I think, are probably a matter of public record. Yeah. How do you know it's not past you who came to the future? This is getting very, very, very gnarly. Right. So let's start out scratch.txt with a really, really easy noddy puzzle. So I'm going to delete all of that. Button A, x plus 10, y plus 10. Button B is x plus 20, y... Oh, crap a dog. There's going to be a weird crossover point where if B is, like, considerably bigger, it might give you a lower cost. So I don't think we can bail out early. I think we got to look at all the scenarios. Yeah. Yeah. Got to find all the x's, then check all the y's. So x equals y. So let's just no, we're gonna stick with their input. I don't think making up input is gonna to help with this. So for var I equals 0, I equals 1. Hang on. Yeah. So A is number of presses. PA equals 1. So PA, PB, presses A, presses B. Var PA equals 1. While true, so if PA no, that could be a 0. It could be 0 because we need PB to be 0 as well. So while PA equals, well, true, if PA, so this is the number of times we've pressed button A, if PA times A dot X, so AX, write the dumb code. Inch towards the problem, figure out, yeah. So var AX equals PA times AX. And that then gives us a var PB equals 0, sorry. And while true, if AX plus PB times B dot X equals this dot X, yeah, then X works, check Y. So if AX plus PB times BX equals this dot X, if PA times A dot Y plus PB times B dot Y equals this dot y, we have a prize. Maybe use x and y rather than x, y, and a, b. What? ax, ay, bx, by, px, p. What? 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 PB is the number of times you've pushed button B. So PA is how many times you've pressed A. PB is how many times you've pressed B. AX is the current, yeah. Let's make that a little clearer. Yeah, yeah. All right. Yeah. So if AX plus that and that, then we have found a solution to Yep. Then this is a solution, right? So we want to stick in here a, what do we got? A list of, int will probably do, wins equals a new one of those. So if that is that, wins dot add press A, press B. All right. And press B plus plus. And there's a limit. They give us an arbitrary limit of 100, right? Well, press A plus press B is less than 100, so we can keep cranking on that. And it was 100 total button presses, not 100 each button. Each button would need to be pressed no more than 100 times. All right. So while press B is less, now I'm sure there's optimizations we can push in here. Right. Folks, I need to drop off in a moment to go and deal with real life, because real life is important. So I'm just going to park this exactly where it is and probably be back in like 20 minutes and do the rest of it. So there's press that, and that's press A plus plus. Okay, so that gives us the whole loop. And then what we want to do is the fewest tokens. So then for each win, we want for wins, it's just the cost they want, isn't it? The fewest tokens you have to spend. So this one is then var costs equals wins dot select. Win goes to win dot item 1 plus 3 times win dot item 2. Dot order by cost goes to cost. Return costs dot first or default. And if that gives us back 0, it means the three times items 1. No. Yes? 3 to the A button, 1 to the B button. Yes, you're absolutely right. Thank you. All right. So there's that, all the machines. For each var machine in machines. Console.writeLine machine.solve. .NET run. $280, 200, 480. All right, let's see if that works on what we got here. So let's save that as day 13 input.text. And so var part1 equals machines dot select. M goes to m dot solve dot where. Cost goes to cost is greater than 0. Dot sum. Console.writeLine part1. Input.text. Boom. Let's run that. Wrong numbers. Is it possible that it's just blowing up because... da, 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 da. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What am I getting off here that isn't giving me a number.length? (1883) 915. Okay, yeah, that is the last line of my input. Yeah. No, it's not. It's not the input thing. Stupid. Something's not splitting right, and I don't know why. And it worked on the Scratch input. Yeah. And Scratch has got carriage return line feed inputs. Let me normalize the line feeds. There we go. All right. We're going to run this one more time, and then I'm going to take a break, and I'm going to come back and either do part 2 or fix part 1. 29187, what are we thinking? There's that. Boom, done. That is the right answer. Continue to part 2. Sweet. That was part 1, folks. I will be back in about half an hour or so. I'm going to take a break. I'm not going to look at part 2 yet. No. I'm going to come back to it. So I'll see you folks back here in about a